November bug of the month, Joe's Mini Craw. The crawfish pattern, a fabulous fly for late season or cold water fishing. Comes in 3 sizes, tied on a jig head style hook. And the way this head is built, it really tends to stay snag free when we're working the bottom with this little guy right here. This fly looks crazy real next to a crayfish when you put it in the water. Those long legs give it just great action. You've got these little pinchers that, when all of that soft material gets wet, really adds to a very lively effect. So let me talk to you a little bit about the right way to fish a crayfish pattern in general, especially the mini craw. So we like the mini craw this time of year because all of our fishing is really going to be right down near the floor of the river. We're not going to be having fish that are sitting suspended or high in the water column. They're not up along the bank looking for hoppers. Their focus is really on that substrate and those rocks right down along the bottom, and that's where crayfish habitate. You don't find crayfish swimming up in the water column or high in the water column at all. Not like a minnow or a bait fish. Even a sculpin will wander up in the water column. So this fly does not fish well on a trout spay rig. From our experience, trout spay rigs tend to fish more mid-water column, a little bit higher in the column. We don't do well with that. We do well in 2 circumstances with this fly typically. One, we run it on a sink tip line, and we like to cast through the edges of the larger pools and strip this along the bottom. Works fabulous in big rivers like this. Also works extremely well in lakes. So you can count the number of seconds you're sinking down until you get just right near the bottom. Strip this back. I've also caught fabulous smallmouth and largemouth on this little crayfish as well, especially in clear water ecosystems. The other way we like to fish it is on what we call a cross lead when we're Euro nymphing. So we're tight line nymphing, we've thrown our fly up, we've made contact with the bottom, and we put a pretty aggressive lead, and we twitch or move this fly under tension along. And right at the end of our presentation, as it goes downstream, that crayfish is about to lift up from the bottom, but we take our rod and we start to steer that fly laterally so it swims across the current near the bottom. You could pick up some vicious strikes using that right there. So sink tip lines, keep this fly near the bottom. The jig style hook, when you strip it, lifts the fly up a little bit. And we like little 6 to 12 inch strips with this little mini craw. It's a fabulous fly. I've linked in the video description or along the product banner along the bottom. There are a few products that I would say if you're gonna get into crayfish fishing for trout, consider those products. One of them is a sink tip line. One of them is a tippet that's a little bit stiffer, meant to turn over weighted flies. The other one is a couple of sinking poly leaders where you can quickly make your existing floating line into a sink tip. Not the most ideal system, but a really quick, cheap hack to switch your floating line into a sinking line to help get you in the game with the little mini craw. So the mini craw is excellent. Fish this thing all winter into the spring. It tends to fish well when those fish are parked right on or near the bottom.